And joining us now from Los Angeles, former LA Deputy District Attorney Robin Sachs. Robin, always good to have you with us. I want to look at a couple of key points here in the recording that was just released. One of the first ones being when we hear Oksana Grigorieva going on and saying, "You're hitting a woman with a child in her hands. What kind of man is that?" She talks about what allegedly happened. He doesn't deny it, unless the tape has been altered in some way to make it sound as if he doesn't deny it. What does that tell you?
That is probably the single most important part of the tapes. Obviously, all of the epithets and all of the awful slurring and derogatory and expletives are helpful in terms of the prosecution of a case. But the fact that he did not actually deny the statement, the allegations, he calls her every other name in the book. Why isn't he calling her a liar if that's what she is?
There are also these death threats, which I know you say really stood out to you when he says, "I will," threatens to put her in a rose garden. Is that a death threat?
Well, it certainly is being meant to be taken at that way. I mean, a rose garden certainly suggests that you're going to be underground in some form or another. And I think that the common person and a common juror listening to that isn't going to take that to mean anything other than he's threatening her life.
The tapes are interesting on so many levels, not only because of what we hear and how disturbing it is, but it's also, we were talking about this morning before we went on the air, a lot of us here in the studio, and it almost sounds like they're both mic'd. And there's a part of it, while it's incredibly serious and must be taken seriously, there's almost a part of you that wonders if they both know they're being recorded.
Well, certainly that is something that is troubling in this tape. When you're sitting here listening to the tape and you listen to Oksana, who is talking about domestic violence, this isn't like a arbitrary, happen to have been recording situations. It sounds somewhat scripted. The quality sounds particularly good. But that in and of itself is not problematic because you have these police reports. This recording is going to be something that could corroborate the domestic violence. It's not the proof of the domestic violence in and of itself.
So then how important is it ultimately to the investigation and potential charges?
Well, from the point of view, from the prosecutor's point of view, what this is, it serves as the amazing piece of impeachment evidence for Mel Gibson. If Mel Gibson says, "I'm a nice, calm, great husband," all you have to do is play that tape to be able to prove him wrong. So it really boxes him in terms of any kind of defense that he potentially has, and certainly gives you a flavor of just how explosive and how awful he can be, and certainly much different than the appearance that he would have wearing a nice suit behind counsel table if he serves to be a defendant at some point.
Should we come to charges in this case, what kind of charges would you expect here?
Well, there are two viable charges in the state of California. One of them is the domestic battery, and that would be the breaking of the teeth and the hitting Oksana at some point. Any of those physical types of charges, that could be either a felony or a misdemeanor. But then there's also these threats, the threats of death. Whether or not he actually did or carried out is irrelevant in California. The fact that he made them and she believed them to be true and was in fear of her safety could be enough to warrant charges.
Robin Sachs, really appreciate the insight. Thank you.
A lot happens early on The Early Show, weekday mornings on CBS.